My name is Madison Wright. I have two really loving parents and a younger brother that I adore. Whenever my brother was in preschool, he drew our family with the caption, "My family has 5 people." He was referring to my uncle, who was basically a third parent to me and my brother. Whenever my uncle was 20 years old, he was in an accident that changed his life forever. He broke his neck, and from that point on he was a quadriplegic, and he was no longer able to use either of his arms or his legs. Because of my close relationship with my uncle, I was made acutely aware from a young age that life is not always fair. But what really has bothered me for most of my life is that life seems particularly unfair for people with disabilities. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "Hate and force cannot be just a part of the world without having an effect on the rest of it." I believe that human rights have been put in place to counteract this hate and force in the world. To me, human rights means that all people should feel respected, protected, dignified, and equal. For people with disabilities in the United States, life can be very difficult and unfair. For instance, they do not receive adequate health care opportunities, struggle to find employment, do not receive the option of life insurance, are dependent on caretakers who are often unknown to them and are not always best suited for the job. All of these factors result in a feeling of isolation, rejection, insecurity, fear, and degradation.
However, these issues are not exclusive to the United States.
Women and girls with disabilities are discriminated against and abused around the world. According to a study done by the European Union, 80% of women in Europe with disabilities are victims of violence, and according to a study done by UNICEF last year, children with disabilities are 1.7 times more likely to be abused. This violence against women and girls with disabilities can be directly linked to factors that perpetuate stigmas. For example, a lack of sexual education for women and girls with disabilities has been shown to cause more sexual violence. Another factor is the inability of friends and relatives to recognize circumstances of abuse. And many people with disabilities are not willing to report violence for fear that they will lose a needed source of care. Whenever I first read about these issues, it was overwhelming to me. This felt like an issue that was just too big and too much. And so I think that it is our duty as global citizens to search for a solution for problems that seem too big to even think about. And looking at it from a different angle, taking a few steps back, and by thinking creatively for solutions, we can make a positive difference, not only in our community and not only in our life, but also in the world. A way that I think would be beneficial to address these problems is through a social media campaign. And the social media campaign would have 3 facets to it. The first would be resources. Resources for families that would give them tools to more easily identify circumstances of abuse. Another resource that we would provide would be some sort of sexual education for women and girls who have not been properly educated. The second part of the social media campaign would be video or photo or written submissions. One cause of violence and abuse is that people with disabilities either don't see themselves as a complete or whole person, or that their abuser does not see them as a complete and whole person, and this is not okay. So to address this, I would like a testimonial portion of the social media campaign raise awareness and recognition of the fact that people with disabilities are so much more than just their disability. And the third facet of this social media campaign would be fundraising to lobby for changes to policies, particularly involving healthcare. I think once you're able to see the entire picture, you're so much more capable to find a solution to the problem.